This old yard man came in with a customer complaining that he had something blocking his gas tank. When we went to look in, there was some rubber from the bottom of the gas cap that had fallen into the fuel tank. And we cleaned that out, except for a couple little dots of it that I couldn't get. But the tractor was still not starting even with the rubber pulled out. So once I pulled the junk out of the fuel tank, it didn't look like there was anything blocking the little hole in the bottom. So that took care of what the customer thought the problem was. And it still wasn't starting. So we came down here, I put this little fuel line clamp on that I can open and close. I pulled this off of the carburetor and I opened this up a little bit and plenty of fuel is flowing out. It doesn't look like the filter's blocked. And when I turned the key to on, the next thing I wanted to check was this little solenoid that blocks the jet. And when I turn the key to on, the solenoid doesn't click and it's not getting warm. So my suspicion was that it was the solenoid, and just to verify that the tractor would run and that it wasn't a lack of spark, I sprayed a little starter fluid into the carburetor and I turned it over. It started right up and only ran for a second. So if this solenoid on the bottom goes bad, that blocks the jet of the carburetor and it won't start. And my guess is that the carburetor is clean because this tractor was running not that long ago. I see this tractor a fair amount around here. And hopefully I'll replace the solenoid and it will start right up. Now before replacing the solenoid, the last thing I want to do is check that there's power going to the solenoid. So I take my multimeter, I set it on 12 volts, put the key in the run position, and I touch the contacts to both of the connectors that would go to the solenoid. And as you can see, it's getting 12.57 volts, which is what it should do with the key on. So it is getting voltage to the solenoid, but the solenoid isn't turning on. The next thing to do is to unscrew the solenoid from the bottom here. You could take the carburetor off to do it, or if you're really creative, you can do it with it on, but you do have to have a gas clamp on so that all of the fuel doesn't spill out of the tank. You will get a little bit of fuel that will fall out of the bottom of the carburetor that you'll have to catch in a pan, but it'll only be a couple of ounces. So this is my new solenoid, or it's a used one, but it's a good one. And I plugged it into the electrical connector, and as I push it in, you can see the tip going in and out. And that means that it's good, because every time I give it power, the tip comes in and out, which would unblock the jet and let the fuel flow. So now I'm going to unscrew this one, which you do just by turning this, and when I take this down, the bowl of the carburetor is going to try to come down too, and the gas will drip out. I've got my little pan here to catch it, and then I will screw the new one right into its place. And I'm using a thin adjustable wrench that can grab the nut right above the bowl here. There's some flat spots on there you can grab onto to unscrew it. Okay, so I held the bowl up like this and I screwed this on with my fingers to get it finger tight, and then I finished it up with the wrench, plugged it back in. I can already hear it clicking and the tractor should start now. Okay, here's the test. Let's see if this worked. Helps to have the choke on. So that's how you test for a faulty fuel solenoid on a carburetor. You can order the solenoids on Amazon. They'll have generic ones. Oftentimes you can't get ones from the factory. They'll usually try to sell you the entire carburetor. In our case, we get a lot of carburetor rebuilds in our shop, so we end up with some extra used ones hanging around, and we'll tend to test those and use those. Thank you for watching.